Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony Joshua we're talking about.
Take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his...
A tense atmosphere erupted the moment Anthony Joshua confronted Jake Paul at the press conference. What began as a typical promotional event quickly turned into a heated exchange. Joshua felt Paul had crossed a line with his comments, interpreting them as blatant disrespect. The heavyweight champion's patience snapped as he stepped forward, his voice rising, jaw tightened, calling out Paul for what he saw as arrogance and provocation. The confrontation instantly shifted the tone of the room, signaling that the rivalry had become deeply personal. The fiery press conference was only the first spark in what analysts began calling one of the most unusual yet gripping matchups in modern boxing. Experts debated both the physical risks and the broader consequences of Anthony Joshua agreeing to fight Jake Paul. Legendary trainer Barry McGuigan offered some of the most powerful criticism. Drawing from decades of experience with elite knockout artists, he said that even seasoned boxers feel genuine fear when standing across from a dangerous puncher, let alone someone unpredictable like Jake Paul. McGuigan stressed that in boxing, the first clean shot can flip the entire narrative. One moment changes everything, and the Joshua-Paul showdown carries that volatile, high-risk energy.
Some people are saying, you know, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that, because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So, yep. And some people are suggesting it might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing, unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him, or he's not going to go flat out. But you know, I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how in under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is, you know, several divisions below him. That's more like what Jake Paul does. And then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong. And then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy. He could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But you know, it just seems utter madness. And
Wade, host of the Wade Concept podcast, revealed that Jake Paul's previously secret game plan has now come to light. According to Wade, Paul has been sparring with multiple heavyweights, each selected for their similarity to Anthony Joshua's height, reach, power, and technical style. These sessions were designed to simulate Joshua's physical presence, giving Paul a taste of true heavyweight power while sharpening his footwork, timing, and defensive reaction. Training with fighters who mirror Joshua's attributes allows Paul to study how to survive and adapt under real heavyweight pressure. Wade suggests that Paul isn't just preparing physically, he's preparing strategically for the toughest challenge of his boxing career.
Anthony Joshua fight if you're Jake Paul, who hasn't fought someone in the top, realistically, the top 50. I know Tommy Fury is ranked in the top 50, but anyone that is a top 50 fighter, even in your weight class, let alone a top 10, top 5 heavyweight in Anthony Joshua, who was a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Can you get prepared for a guy like that if you brought in, let's just say, a deity, freaking Zeus, Hercules, whoever, to prepare you? Could you do it? I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about. But I will say, there were rumors going around that Jake was not taking this fight as seriously as he needed to. That Jake was dilly-dallying, flying to go see F1 in Miami after his press conference, and then going to see his girl all the way in the Netherlands if she's trying to qualify for, I think, the Olympics or something else. There was this post from his girlfriend. I don't know if, again, this was in the Netherlands or where it was at, or maybe this is an old picture, but Jake flying around the world when he has a fight in about 4 weeks is probably not the greatest look, and it doesn't seem to make it look like he's taking it as serious as he needs to, locked away in the gyms of Puerto Rico. Now, again, that could have been a different picture. That could have been something else, but that's pretty shocking to see. With that being said, I want to push back on that because I do think Jake is taking this as seriously as he absolutely needs to, because this is not only the toughest fight of his career, it's the most dangerous to the longevity of his career, to his health and well-being. And so to do something like that, you need to bring in the best help possible to get ready. We already heard that Jake Paul was preparing it for Anthony Joshua by sparring the guy that Anthony Joshua was about to fight in Cassius Chaney. This gentleman right here, who was 24-3 from B-More, aka the DMV, and apparently is a top 100 heavyweight, even though it doesn't say he's actually a top 100 heavyweight. That was what he was being marketed as.
Former professional boxer and analyst Spencer Oliver approached the fight from a broader cultural perspective. He argued that the Joshua vs. Paul fight is more than a contest, it's a moment in boxing history. Oliver drew comparisons to Muhammad Ali's era, pointing out how Ali often participated in unconventional bouts that captivated mainstream audiences. In the same way, a Joshua-Paul fight could pull in viewers who don't normally watch heavyweight boxing, merging the traditional fanbase with social media-driven younger audiences. Oliver explained that this crossover effect could expand boxing's global reach, increase media attention, and attract entirely new demographics to the sport. The spectacle, entertainment factor, and cultural crossover position the fight as a landmark event, not just a matchup. He emphasized that getting younger audiences, especially Jake Paul's massive online following, to engage with mainstream boxing could mean millions in revenue, higher sponsorship value, and long-term growth for the sport. In many ways, Joshua stepping into this kind of fight mirrors Ali's approach to entertainment-driven matchups that still carried weight within the sport's legacy.
Pops him a few times in the face, walks out of 150 million quid. No one will remember the fact he fought Jake Paul. They'll remember the fact he knocked Klitschko out in Wembley in 2017.
Totally agree with that.
So I'm kind of, whilst I don't like it, and I don't like the way that Jake Paul gravitates to these brilliant athletes and like a moth sucks the life out of them because he gets a benefit of association, because I think they deserve all the association. But he is a and there is opportunity there, isn't there?
Listen, commercially, of course it works because it'll be huge and there'll be a load of money on the table. For Anthony Joshua, it's like sort of, you know, he's going to get rewarded very well with no risk, minimal risk, no risk at all. He's going to go in there and he may then put all this stuff to bed with Jake Paul and calling out all these different champions, etc., etc. So, of course it works. And when you're talking about, you know, the credibility that Joshua's going to get, he's not going to get none now, but are people going to remember that? Of course they're not. Like, when he goes on to do what he does, didn't Muhammad Ali have some sort of strange fight in the middle of his career? Didn't he box? Yeah, he did. He boxed some non-boxing guy and whatnot. Like, people don't remember that. That's what I'm saying. Look, us as boxers, we don't remember stuff like that.
It was replicated in Rocky. So, he did a version of Fighting Thunderlips, didn't he? So,
veteran boxing journalist Gareth A. Davies raised serious concerns from a safety standpoint. He pointed out the alarming physical imbalance between the fighters, Joshua being a naturally massive, professional heavyweight with years of elite experience, and Paul being significantly smaller with far fewer rounds against top-tier opposition. Davies warned that if Joshua lands clean early, the impact could be devastating. While the spectacle of influencer versus champion is undeniably exciting, he questioned whether it's ethically and medically justifiable. Davies stressed that regulators and promoters must thoroughly consider safety protocols, as a miscalculated fight could pose serious risks to both competitors.
So, as I am with you, there is a danger in this fight. The odds are, Joshua's 1-12, obviously. Jake Paul is 6-1, yeah, to win this fight in a two-horse race in which this is a guy who lost to Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, in an 8-round fight, who, for me, I wrote that it would damage his legacy a week ago. It will damage his legacy for several reasons. If the Deontay Wilder fight never emerges, which it looks like it isn't, I've been calling for that fight for ages. If those two got in a ring together, it's still a massive fight. It's a dangerous fight to sanction, in my view. Sets the wrong precedent. It is 10-ounce gloves. It is a boxing match. It's not an exhibition. This isn't a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is one of the most dangerous finishers in the world, who is probably 5 levels above Jake Paul and a weight division above him. I think it's irresponsible to let those two in a ring together in a proper boxing match. That's my view. It doesn't damage his bank balance, but if he earns $70 million US for this, are we...
Boxing analysts Angelo and Josh delivered a technical assessment of the fight. They emphasized that Jake Paul, despite showing improvement in courage, does not belong in the same category as heavyweight elites like Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. Joshua and Wilder are members of an exclusive class, fighters with freakish natural power, refined timing, and the ability to end a fight instantly. These traits cannot be mimicked by smaller or less experienced boxers. They explained that bravery doesn't equal skill. Paul may be confident, but his skill set is still limited compared to the instinctive, battle-tested sharpness that elite heavyweights develop over years of training and world-class competition.
Don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though, so he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no, he gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo, because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he. But the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe. Or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua had a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay? That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's DAZN.
Well, there's no O or no E at the end.
It's DAZN.
But so they had to buy. They basically had to buy Anthony Joshua his permission.
Boxing analyst Henry shifted the discussion by arguing that the risks aren't only on Jake Paul's side. While Paul clearly faces physical danger, Henry emphasized that Anthony Joshua also has much to lose. For a fighter of Joshua's stature, anything short of a dominant, flawless victory could harm his legacy. Even a single moment of vulnerability, one mistake, one punch landed by Paul, would become a global headline. Thus, Joshua enters the fight with immense pressure. He must win convincingly, or his reputation takes a hit. Henry stressed that both fighters carry heavy stakes, making this matchup far more complex than a simple champion versus influencer narrative.
Creates immense risk for Joshua is because even if Joshua wins this fight, it has to be perfect. There cannot be a moment of hesitation from Anthony Joshua. He can't look mentally shot. He can't take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility. All the things that have ever been said about him, he's a hype job, he's been coddled. He didn't really want to fight Deontay Wilder when they were both in their prime. He's just a big bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury loves to put it. Anyone who's ever doubted him will have absolute ability to do so. And so the fact that this is actually a sanctioned fight, it tells me that Anthony Joshua cannot be going in there, or will not go in there and try to carry Jake Paul. Otherwise, it might as well just be an exhibition. If he does go in there and carry Jake Paul, my fear for him is that most people will not be aware that that's what he's doing. Reputationally, it would just cause serious damage. And like I say, I think the only way he comes out of this unscathed reputationally, is by going in there and securing a clean knockout. Anthony Joshua can't do anything to boost how people view him as a boxer in this fight. All it can do is damage him unless he's punch perfect. He's fighting someone who realistically has nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. And that in itself can be dangerous, it can be risky. And given that Jake Paul has achieved so little, given that Anthony Joshua wants to remain relevant and credible, so it seems, because he has a couple of potentially big fights left, especially against Tyson Fury, why is he doing this? He doesn't want to jeopardize that, surely. Well, I can tell you exactly how I think he has rationalized this in his mind. The first thing is that he's going to get paid an absolute shed load of money. Around 50 million is what we're hearing. I've heard 50 million pounds, 50 million USD, but whatever happens, it's a significant amount of cash. Possibly one of his, will be one of his highest ever career paydays, possibly similar to what he'd make for a Tyson Fury fight. But for what? Like 1% of the risk? I don't know how to...
Promoter Eddie Hearn unpacked the strategic and financial aspects behind the fight. He explained that Joshua has already achieved nearly everything possible in the heavyweight division. At this stage in his career, the fight represents a massive payday, one that surpasses traditional bouts. Hearn argued that boxing is not just a sport, it is a business. The offer on the table is almost impossible to ignore. For Joshua, this matchup is a calculated business move that allows him to earn huge money, stay active, maintain media relevance, and appeal to a wider global audience. The fight becomes a blend of competition, entertainment, and financial strategy, a modern boxing formula.
By the ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell me?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, we were going to have a run out in December over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said that at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
Yeah, there has been some conversations around that, and it is, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. Listen, respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
To end on that note, I spoke to Alfie Sharman earlier. He said that himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. What's the situation with regards to that? Because I know there's one.
Apparently the fight's done. Obviously, it's not done because those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with DAZN. Obviously, we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently, he's inactive, to let it run out. But he would have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again, and then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that...
Former world champion David Haye highlighted the unpredictable nature of boxing. He warned that no matter how favored Joshua is, the result of any fight is unknown until the bell rings. Haye reminded everyone that underestimating an opponent, especially one as motivated and unorthodox as Jake Paul, can lead to disaster. Respect must always be given to anyone stepping into the ring. This unpredictability injects suspense into the matchup, ensuring both fighters must remain focused from start to finish. One mistake can create a headline that shocks the world.
It was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
It seems, but sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, get knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know, he's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10 top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. It's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It would be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing.
The video concludes with a promise of more updates, highlighting the rapidly building anticipation and the global attention circling this controversial, high-stakes showdown.